Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for, but let's start with college football. And the one thing I'll say is this, is one reason I think we love football so much, we as a society, why I am so blessed to get to do what I do. It's because I think it's the sport, it's every weekend, NFL, college, whatever, you play one time a week, and you spend all week building up in your head what you think the narratives are going to be and what you think the results are going to produce. And so you look at Florida State-Clemson, right? And I think we all thought the narrative was pretty straightforward. If Clemson loses this game, it is an entire indictment on Dabo Swinney, Clemson, and essentially how Dabo Swinney has elected to do things. We've talked about it a million times. Doesn't love the portal, doesn't love NIL. Florida State has fully embraced the portal. And this felt like the game. If Clemson loses this one, oh my goodness, it's going to be an indictment on Dabo. He's going to have to change everything. Well, it was actually the exact opposite. Clemson was the better team. Clemson was in complete control. Clemson probably should have won the game. And then all of a sudden, boom, game over. Florida State wins. Everybody's rushing the field. I can't ever remember a game quite like it, where Clemson felt like they were in control for, I'm not kidding, 98% of the game. Felt like they were in complete control. They outgained Florida State by over 100 yards. As I said, I thought they were the better team, and Florida State ends up surviving. Credit to the Noles, but the story here is obviously Clemson. In terms of the game, listen, like I said, I think the narrative coming in was Clemson, are they going to have enough dudes? They don't use the portal. Clemson, they didn't lose this game because of talent. They lost a few really sort of unfortunate breaks, to be honest. One, the first reason they lost, brutal play goes against them end of the third quarter. There's obviously a missed assignment. Quarterback Cade Klubnik gets crushed in the pocket. He fumbles it, returned by Caden DeLoach for 56 yards for a touchdown. Clemson at that point was up 24-17. Clemson, as I said, was in control. Clemson was driving with the ball, and it felt like they punched this one in. They go up 31-17 going into the fourth. They're not losing this game. Like they're just not losing. Florida State doesn't look as good as they did against LSU. It's not the same team. Maybe Jordan Travis is beat up, whatever. Unfortunately for Clemson, fumble recovery, return for a touchdown. It's 24-24, and actually they didn't score the rest of the game. So that was play number one. Play number two, you got to feel bad for this kicker, okay? And so for people who did not watch the game, there was kind of a wild story with this backup kicker for Clemson. So Clemson has had all sorts of kicking problems over the last couple weeks. And so Dabo, over the course of the last couple days, was kind of trying to look for some answers in terms of how do we get this thing fixed? And so it was interesting because his sons, who are part of the team, they kind of said to him, they said, Dad, remember last year's backup, Jonathan Wheats? He's still enrolled in school as a graduate, and he has eligibility left. And it's a very unique story. This kid was the backup for 4 years, never really got a shot. Clemson recruited an elite kicker, and basically this kid said, I'm not coming back for another year to sit on the bench and not contribute. So he's in Charleston, which is 4 hours from Clemson, taking grad classes. He's already accepted a job for postgraduate in the winter. And Dabo calls him and says, we need you, okay? So the kid comes to campus, wins the starting job, kicks a 30-something yard field goal in the first quarter, and you feel like this thing might end up being a Hollywood ending. He has a chance late in the fourth quarter, about 5 minutes left, to kick what would have been the go-ahead field goal, and unfortunately, he ends up missing it. Sean McDonough actually had a pretty funny line about this. He said, it should have been a Hollywood ending. Unfortunately, the Hollywood writers are on strike, so Sean McDonough got the last laugh on that one. And then really the reason that they lost, I thought it was just piss poor play calling and execution in overtime, okay? So they don't get the field goal. They end up going to overtime. Florida State scores in overtime. Clemson gets the ball back, okay? Clemson is driving. They have a 3rd and 1, and apparently they called an RPO. They call an RPO for the kid, for Cade Klubnik, their quarterback, and he decides he's going to throw it. And it's like it's 3rd and 1. He's trying to make a play. They end up missing it. Then, of course, the next play, they have to go for it on 4th down. They're down by 7. Don't convert it. Game over. And so you look at this game. I'll be honest. I feel bad for Clemson. I know people don't like Dabo and they don't this and they don't that. They were the better team. And so now they're just so fascinating because I don't know where their season goes. Remember, they don't just have 2 losses before the end of September. They have 2 losses in ACC play. So depending on how everything else goes, they could win out and still not qualify for the ACC championship game. Now, if you're looking for a glasses half full, if you're looking for a positive, quarterback Cade Klubnik did look much better. The offense was much crisper. And you look at the schedule, and there's no game that they can't win. Now, the ACC, in my opinion, is much better. It's going to be much tougher, and there are going to be wins to be had. You look at the schedule, they do still have to play at Miami later in the year. They actually have to go to Syracuse this weekend. That's always been a tough place for them. But they play at Miami, at NC State, another place that's been tough for them. They lost the last time they played there. Notre Dame at home, North Carolina at home, at South Carolina. And so you look at that schedule. That is a brutal schedule, but they can win every one of those games. Win those games, you're going to go back to the ACC championship game. You're probably going to play Florida State, and you're going to have a chance to beat them and win an ACC title. I just think the question is, can you stay focused? Can you get through all those tough games? Because Florida State, on the other hand, their toughest part of their schedule is behind them. I remember saying in the summer, I was like, if they can go 1-1 with LSU and at Clemson, they're going to be in great shape to make the college football playoff, because you look at the rest of their schedule. Now, Duke is better than expected. Duke is ranked, but they get Duke at home. They get Miami at home. They have no North Carolina. They have no Louisville, who's all of a sudden playing very well under Jeff Brom. And so they're going to have a situation where they are probably going to win out. If I had to guess right now, I would guess Florida State ends up 12-0 and in the ACC championship game playing for an ACC title. By the way, it is worth noting Florida State actually has a bye this week, probably very much needed. I don't think Jordan Travis looked very good, but the story here is Clemson. I feel bad. The situation was there. They're not as bad as we thought. You can't blame the transfer portal. You can't blame talent. It came down to execution late on special teams. Late in the fourth quarter, they did have a chance to go for it, kick a field goal to end regulation. Or I don't know about kick a field goal, but they had a chance to make one final play before regulation. They took a knee, went to overtime. And then in overtime, whether it was the play calling, whether it was Cade Klubnik, to Dabo's credit, he took credit for what went wrong.